these problems were kind of digging way back to the very beginning of the chapter, so that's why I want to go through this with you together. Because some of the stuff we haven't talked about since the very beginning of time. Not really, just from the very beginning of the chapter. So the first four, we're supposed to organize these from widest to narrowest. They're all going to be parabolas, right? What makes a parabola be wider or more narrow? Yes. Right. So does a bigger number make it wider or narrower? Narrower. Okay. So what would be the widest of these graphs? Widest of them.
0.5.
0.5. The widest would be the one with the smallest number. Okay. What is the, yeah, we don't care. Hold on. Some of you are saying, wait, but -1 is smaller than 0.5, so wouldn't that be wider? But the negative doesn't affect the width of the parabola. What does the negative have an effect on?
It's frowning.
Right, whether it's frowning or smiling, whether it's opening up or down. So you don't have to pay any attention to positive, negative when you're answering questions about the width of graphs of parabola. So 0.5x squared would be the widest. Which one is in the middle? Negative x squared. And then the narrowest would be y equals 2x squared. Okay? So, how about number 2? It says f of x equals 4x squared, f of x equals 2/3 x squared, and f of x equals 3x squared. Which of those will be the widest? 2/3 x squared, because that has the smallest number. What's the next one? 3x squared. And what's the narrowest? What's the narrowest? 4x squared. Okay? So do you remember how this works?
Yes.
Okay. All right, number 3, same deal. Which is going to be widest? 0.6x squared, 0.3x squared, or 0.2x squared? What's the smallest of those numbers? 0.2. So 0.2x squared will be the widest. And then 0.3x squared after that. And then 0.6x squared after that.
Wait,
And
are
then-
we seriously graphing these?
Not these.
Not these.
Oh, I was like,
Ones we will. All right, and then number 4, remember, we don't care about the positive or negative when we're talking about width of a parabola. So when I say smallest, I really mean like the absolute value, not including the negative sign. Which is the smallest? 2x squared, 1x squared, or 0.25x squared? 0.25, yep, because the negative doesn't matter. So negative 0.25x squared would be the widest of those, followed by x squared is the next, followed by negative 2x squared after that. Okay? All right, so just a little suggestion. If you didn't remember that when we started talking about it 5 minutes ago, there's a good chance you're not going to remember it tomorrow when you sit down and take your quiz. So what should you do?
Go over it.
Yes, study, but yes, write it down in your notes, because you can use, well, you can go and watch the video, that's fine too, but you won't have access to the video during the quiz. So what I'm trying to get at is if you write down in your notes, smaller number equals wider parabola, bigger number equals narrower parabola, then you'll have a better chance of getting these correct.
Mr. Oliver,
Yeah.
have you looked at your latest reviews?
Yeah, exciting stuff.
New countries?
Yeah.
Comments?
We haven't rushing yet.
yeah, do we get any comments?
You know, I haven't been looking at the comments at all.
Remember Frances Ruiz.
Do you know if they're going to be saying Francis?
She's a pro golfer. Francis, I told all of our viewers that you're a pro golfer, and I told them your name so to remember you.
Can I just watch you?
Yeah, we have to graph these a little bit. Sure. Okay,
Francis Ruiz, pro golfer.
do you remember how we graph these?
No, yes.
Third on
Possibly.
Third on
What,
bus.
what was the key? How did we get started?
Escapes me right now.
It escapes you.
What's that? I don't start on one half. No,
You start in the middle.
I start in the middle.
Origin
Yeah.
area.
Okay, what I'm trying to get at, what you guys
Oh,
can
yeah,
remember, is x was negative b over 2a, right? Okay, now in this case, that's not very helpful because what is b? 0. So 0 divided by anything is going to be 0. So the x coordinate of my vertex is going to be 0. How do I find the y coordinate? Plug it in, and what do you get?
I get 0.
I still get 0 because 0 squared is 0 and 0 times 1/2 is also 0.
So it's just 0?
So the vertex is at 0, 0. Okay? Where does this cross the y-axis? At 0, because remember that that's what the c is for, the number that's on the end. But I already knew that. So this is one of those weird special cases where what do I do now?
Straight line.
Okay, good. This is going to be my axis of symmetry right down the middle there. So it's good to include that. That's going to cut the parabola right in half.
You just
But how do I find another point?
pick
on
a
the
random
parabola?
number.
I pick a random number.
7.
Okay. I don't want to pick 7.
4.
Okay. Sure. Let's do 4. 7 is too
7.
big of a number, and weird things might happen then. So if I choose x equals 4, 4 squared is
4 is 16.
16, and half of 16 is
What the heck? These racers hate me.
8. So that tells me that the point 4,
Sticking with
8
pins.
is also on this graph. Okay? And then if I combine that with the fact that this is the axis of symmetry, can you tell me, well, that means this is going to be 1/2 of the parabola, and the other half is going to be reflected over it onto this same side over here. Whoops, that's not very good, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I got it.
You got it?
Got it.
How do you get 40?
How do we get 4?
Put a random number
We
in
just
there.
picked it.
Because it's 0.
We just picked it.
Like random. Like how he said
Random.
7, but he wouldn't use 7.
Okay, next one.
He wouldn't use 7.
Okay, next one, same deal. We're going to end up with the same problem. But I first want to figure out the x coordinate of the vertex by going negative b over 2a. But what is b? Once again, b is 0.
Pick 3.
So that means the x coordinate of my vertex is going to be 0. What? B is the number in front of the x. And since there is no plain old x in this problem, you can think of it as being negative 2x squared plus 0x minus 1. So a is negative 2, b is 0, and c is negative 1. Okay? So that means that negative b over 2a will also be 0. So if I plug 0 into this one, what do you get for y?
0.
Not this time. Minus 1, yeah, because 0 squared is 0. 0 times negative 2 is still 0, and 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So that means that the vertex of this parabola is at 0, negative 1. Okay? So once again, like Stacy said,
What?
you should draw in your
Line of
axis of
symmetry.
symmetry there, so you can kind of keep track of what's going on. And then again, we're in trouble here, because where does this graph cross the y-axis?
0. Pick 4.
Not at 0.
1. Negative 1.
At negative 1. It always crosses the y-axis at the value, whatever c is.
That is
Okay?
Stacy.
And so that doesn't help us because we knew that already, because that's where the vertex is. So this is another pick a number problem.
2, 1.
Okay, let's pick 2. If I plug 2 into there, 2 squared is 4. 2 times 4 is negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, and negative 8 minus 1 makes
-1, 9.
negative 9. So that means there is another point on this parabola at 2, negative 9. Okay? So that tells you then that there's another point the same distance from the axis of symmetry on the other side over here. And so now you can draw in the rest of your graph.
Check out.
Huh?
Check out the
No, we got more important things here.
YouTube.
This is very important. Very important.
Can you just go through all these?
Yeah.
Possible.
Are you copying your answers?
Yeah, the main thing though is for you to understand this, because tomorrow you're going to do it on the quiz on your own, with no help. So that's the key, is not necessarily just copying down the answers so you get a good grade on this assignment, but it's learning it so you get a good grade on the quiz, yeah.
Should we accept the answers in a little while or really high?
No. All right,
Wait, what?
now for number 7, we finally get something going. Because in this problem, what does A equal? 3. And B equals?
-6.
-6, and C equals?
0.
0.
Make it equal 7.
So now when we figure out what the opposite of B divided by 2A is, we're going to get an answer different from 0. So if B is -6, then negative B, or the opposite of B, is 6. A is 3, which means that 2A is 6.
1.
So that means the x-coordinate of our axis of symmetry is 1. Okay? What do I do with that?
Plug it in.
Okay, if I plug it in for x in the original equation, what do I get for y? Negative 3, very nice. So that tells us that our vertex is at 1, -3. Okay? Enough lights, what do you think? Okay, so that means that this is going to be the axis of symmetry.
Lucy.
And now we don't have to do that other game where we pick a number, because where does this graph cross the y-axis? What?
0.
At 0, because C equals 0. So it's going to cross the y-axis right here, which means that there's also going to be another point right over there, which means that my parabola is going to look like this. Thanks. Okay?
I am
So
done.
if the vertex is different from the y-intercept, then you don't have to do that pick a number game. You can just use those 2 points to figure it out. All right, one more graphing one.
Yep.
Stupid.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you give us all this?
So you can learn.
She wants us to learn how to be smart.
Okay, Stacy.
What? What?
Go lay out.
I have to eat one. I don't have a lunch.
All right, Nolan. Get your attention out here, please.
All right.
Yeah, Nolan.
Same as the other ones. What's A?
A is 1,
What's B?
2,
And what's
4,
C?
6, 10,
Okay.
8. I went by 2.
So I'm going to go negative B over 2A. So if B is 2, then negative B is negative 2. If A is 1, then 2A is...
A is
not 1, it's 0.5 actually.
What are you smoking?
you're looking at number 9.
Silly boy, we're on number 8.
Don't make fun of me. It's going to be one where they comment like,
Okay.
at 34 in a minute. What are you smoking?
So negative 2 over 2 is
Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1.
negative 1. So the x-coordinate
Negative 1.
of the vertex is negative 1. Okay? Hey, guys, please stop.
It's sunny.
What do I do with that to figure out what the y coordinate of
Plug
the
it
vertex
in,
is?
plug it in.
So I'm going to do this in a couple steps because this is complicated. -1 squared is
1.
positive 1. And remember, if you're doing this on your calculator, what do you have to do with the -1?
Parentheses.
Put it in parentheses, okay? Then 2 times -1 is -2. And then I add 4 onto that. So 1 minus 2 plus 4 makes
3.
3. All right? So that means the coordinates for my vertex are -1, 3. So I can draw in my
Line of symmetry.
axis of symmetry. And then the other piece that I need is, where does this cross the y-axis?
4.
4. So put a dot at 4. So there's half my parabola. And then it's got to be the same on the other side. So it looks roughly like that. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are a couple of things we haven't done for a while that I am going to ask you to do on the quiz tomorrow. How narrow, how wide are parabolas, and then also to be able to graph them. Okay? I think the rest of them you can probably tackle on your own because it's stuff that we've done relatively recently. So I'm going to call it quits there and just give you a chance to do that. Okay?
What happened to my